Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Hope you're doing well. Hey, thanks for joining me on this morning talk whenever you get a chance to listen to it. So, hey guys, I didn't have a very specific talk this morning. I was actually going to talk about something else, but then this just kind of popped into my mind last minute before I started to record. But what I wanted to talk about is our history. How much has been covered up? How much we don't know? There's a lot of stuff that you weren't taught in school or that you were mistaught in school about history. How many of you have heard of the massive empire that was called Tartaria? This has become very popular as of late because it's like it jumped into the zeitgeist not too long ago. I'd say it's been about less than 10 years now. Before 10 years ago, nobody was really talking about it, and it just blew up. And the reason it blew up was because people are just astounded that there was this massive empire that it looks like it went all the way up till possibly as late as the 1700s. I can't give you any exact dates, folks, because it's covered in so much mystery and it's so vague in any of the textbooks that nobody really knows, and everybody's been digging and digging trying to figure stuff out. But it's been a major subject. I mean, imagine this massive empire and it sounds like they had technologies, that they had some kind of way that they harnessed electricity from the ether, from the atmosphere. It looks like their buildings were designed in a way to do this. It looks like the architecture they had was very intricate, was very massive buildings with amazing architecture. And essentially, folks, this Tartarian Empire, from what I've been able to gather, it looks like it was basically a carry-on of the end of the Mongolian Empire, of the Khan Empire. And it looks like it was a vast area that covered parts of Asia, what we would consider Russia today, and even into Eastern Europe. It looks like the Mongolians, the Russians, and some of the other Caucasus Mountain peoples, Eastern Europe, and even parts of Persia were all kind of part of this empire. And then there's other mysteries tied in with this. There were the orphan trains. Folks, if you've never heard about the orphan trains, you need to research it. There were these orphan trains that were apparently in New York, and at the ports, they were getting so many refugees from this Tartarian Empire from Europe. And a lot of these there were a lot of kids, and they lost their parents. They were orphans, and they didn't know what to do with them. So they put them on trains, and they started shipping them out to the west, to the frontier in America, to work on farms and homesteads and such. And people would take these kids in, adopt them. And we all know what happens, like similar to what's going on in the South right now. And that's a touchy subject for the AI feelers also, or sensors, whatever you want to call them. But we're seeing that with the children coming up from the South too. That they're being spread all over, and a lot of them were losing traces of where they went, tens of thousands of them. Well, there was these orphan trains, and some of these kids were given a chance, at life. They were able to, work on these farms till they got older, and then they went on their way, and these families took good care of them. However, some of them were abused. Some of them were put into work for money, if you get my meaning, folks. Like a sexual nature. And some of them were just treated like slaves. This is documented. You've got to look this up. The orphan trains. They went for a long time too, folks. Where did all these kids come from? Well, I've watched documentaries on it, and it does mention that a lot of them came from Eastern Europe and from Russia. So there was something that happened, folks, with this Tartarian Empire. You've heard of the mud floods, right? How there was this worldwide cataclysm that somehow the earth was liquefied, or buildings got buried in mud and ground. It's very vague, folks, because it seems as if this is being covered up. Some people have gone as far as saying that this is a giant Mandela effect, that Tartaria was not in our original timeline, and that now it's popped into this timeline with the other Mandela effects. But this is a massive one. Literally an empire that was never heard of just popping into the zeitgeist. See, folks, I don't have concrete answers or information for you here. It's all very vague because it's a giant mystery. What is this? We've always been told, right, that after the fall of the Roman Empire, that especially the Europe went into the Dark Ages and feudal state, and everything was controlled by the church, by the Roman Church, and by the Holy Roman Emperor, and everything was just everybody was serfs, unless you were of the merchant class or the royal class. And the world went under tyranny, under religion. Oh yes, for all of you that think Christianity is this beacon of hope and greatness for the world, you really need to study history. Christianity brought in the Dark Ages because it did away with the Enlightenment of man, of the humanist movement. It put humans, it made us all slaves, and it put us under this church doctrine, under the iron fist of the church. And if you went against the church, if you didn't want to practice that religion, you were a heretic and you were murdered. I mean, literally tortured. You've heard of the Inquisition, right? You were burned at the stake. All of you think that, everything's going to be fantastic. These leftists are ruining everything. Look at what happens when the left runs things. Oh, yes, the left loves tyranny too, folks. See, they worship government. They worship tyranny. They talk this big game about kumbaya. We just need communism and socialism, and we could all get along, and we could all equally be happy, equally be given stuff. No, folks, they worship the boot on the neck. See, they made government their god. And we see now what tyranny under them looks like, and it's getting worse. As they start losing grasp of control and that pendulum will start to swing, my worry is that they push the pendulum so far to one end, to the left, that when the hard swing to the right is going to bring in tyranny, like it did under the Bushes. How many of you forget? See, that I used to be an R. I hate to admit it. I know. But I'll tell you what, I seen through all that BS when the Twin Towers. I seen the Patriot Act for what it was. I seen the Bushes for what they are: scum, warmongers, evil, degenerate creeps. And see, I turned my back on that. But many of you on the left, you just can't turn your back on the tyranny of your party. As long as you're in power, your party, you're cool with it. That's how those in the right are. Oh, if it swings far right and they bring in like a Noahide laws and Old Testament laws and make that the law of the land and worship of their God and their doctrine, the tyranny will swing the other way, folks. See, none of you fools understand that the polarity of this realm is playing you for a fool. You don't understand how the game is played. You don't understand how to stop the pendulum from swinging. That's when we find true peace and unity and compromise. And that's how we work together and how we snuff out tyranny and bring a true peace. But you all laugh at me and say, oh, you're a fence sitter. Oh, you're what they talk about in the Bible. You're the seeds that were mixed in with the weeds, and instead of the ones that were thrown on the, hard ground that couldn't grow at all. You talk some truth but it's some falsities. See, folks, see how religion has propagandized all of you guys not to understand how the rules of the game work? But then we have this Tartarian Empire that somehow rose up during the Dark Ages when Europe was under tyranny, under the iron fist of religion. Somehow there was this empire east that was a remnant of the Mongolian Empire that had vast technology. It looks like they had airships, not jets and planes, but like they had balloons, air balloon ships. This whole cyberpunk movement that was big in like the 2000s and kind of late 90s and all that. A lot of that, I think, spun off of this remembrance of this Tartarian Empire. But what happened to it, folks? Was it a natural catastrophe or was there a war to stamp it out? And that was what got hidden from us, that this empire was destroyed. And they don't want you to know why. And you know what, folks? I didn't mean this whole talk to be about Tartaria and stuff. But hey, let's just let it flow. We're just gonna go where we go here, okay? I got about 10 more minutes here before I get to work and have to finish up. But it's very fascinating. For those of you who have not heard of Tartaria or of the orphan trains, research it. See, the technologies that Tesla was working on seemed as if they had something like that in Tartaria. Now, folks, we have been lied to a lot about electricity and energy. See, right now, the right was always big at pushing big oil, right? And all that. Because the early robber barons, they made their fortunes off of oil and coal, and they needed people in an electricity grid to charge them to keep up control of people. See, Tesla was trying to give us free energy. They were the ones who put us under an energy that they can control us and tax us on and rob us blind of. When energy is the realm, everything is energy. We are energy. We are conscious energy. They've stolen our birthright of free energy, folks. They've always had the technologies. See, everybody talks about, well, when we get cold fusion and we get this and that. Now, that would be fantastic. However, folks, we've always had free energy. The ether has always given energy freely. It's all around us. Everything is energy. We have to tap into it. But see, there's been technologies to do that. They have smashed those technologies. They've hidden them. On purpose, folks. Everybody keeps thinking that this is like, well, we just need to get our scientists to figure this all out. Folks, It's always been there. The Egyptians had electricity. The ancients, the pyramids, folks, were giant energy devices. And yes, laugh at me all you want, folks, but I'll tell you what, the Egyptians, that's what those were built. That's why they can't figure out what some of these pyramids were. They were designed as giant energy devices. You could call them power plants if you'd like. That would emit energy, Wi-Fi into the atmosphere. Remember how they always show the Egyptians carrying the Ankh around? You know, the Ankh, that little staff, had wires wrapped around it and all that, and the shape it was in, folks. And what is it? The Omega shape? You know, at least from the Hebrew. Yeah, folks, those, don't you get it? The Egyptians had electricity. They used it in some sort of capacity. And they had batteries, folks. There are depictions of them holding batteries. In these deep chambers under these pyramids, there is no signs of ancient torch use. See, torches used for thousands of years to go underground, it would leave the smoke and residue on the rock, in the dirt, on the stones. But that's not found, folks. And the reason is because they had batteries and not flashlights. Well, I guess their type of flashlight. They had some kind of device like a light bulb that they were able to tap into this energy and use to light up those passages. Folks, there's pictures of them holding them. They look like giant light bulbs, folks, with a cord connected into a box. And then if you read about the Ark of the Covenant, think about this, folks. Ark, electrical ark. Go read in the Old Testament how they had to handle the Ark of the Covenant, folks. They had to wear special clothing, protective clothing. They probably had to have some kind of primitive rubber clothing, or else it would melt you. God's wrath would, incinerate you if you didn't. Think of the movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. See, the movies were telling you, folks. See, they always drip the truth out. What happened when they, those German characters, and once again, it's another word I can't say, opened the ark in the movie. They all started melting. It was like a radiation. It was a battery, a power device. Folks, when Akhenaten and his followers fled Egypt, who you would call the Hebrews, he took that giant battery device out of the king's chamber, out of the black sarcophagus. That was the Ark of the Covenant. That was where the battery went, where they stored the power of the pyramid, folks. Why do you think the Egyptians were so pissed off? They wanted those people the hell out of their land. They didn't care. They let them go. I mean, there was a civil war brewing between Akhenaten and his followers and the Egyptians that followed the old gods, the other Anunnaki. See, Akhenaten was a worshiper of Ra, the sun god, the sun disk god. Ra was Marduk, the son of Enki. The same Marduk that usurped Enki. The Babylonians replaced Enki in the Enuma Elish in their version. Enki was the one in the original version that overcame Tiamat. Marduk usurped his father in the later Babylonian versions of that. Marduk was the one that was at war with Yahweh, his uncle Enlil. Marduk was the one who stole Egypt rule from his brother Ningizida, known as Thoth, Hermes. See, folks, it's the same characters. See, mankind has always understood how to use this natural energy, folks. We've lost that ability to use those natural ways of using that. because our governments of the world have decided to put us under energy tyranny, energy control. See, they've always tried to control energy, folks. That's why they control me and you, because they understand we're conscious energy. We've always had the technologies to be energy independent, where every household in the world can have their own energy source, which in turn allows you can even pull water out of the atmosphere, folks. You don't need wells and lakes and desalination of salt water and all that. See, once again, there are ways that you can get water out of the atmosphere. There's actually people that have invented these devices, but I'm guessing that in the far past, they had all these technologies, folks. I mean, I'm talking going back to Atlantis and all this. We keep going through these cycles, folks, where we get to high technology, and then all of a sudden these psychopaths destroy civilization, or sometimes it's cataclysms. However, the elite always know when these cataclysms are coming, and then they build their bunkers, their spaceships to go height above it, like the Anunnaki did during the flood. And then they wait till the rest of the peons and peasants all, perish. And then they come back down and rebuild civilization again with an iron fist, as they've always done. And it's the same cycles, folks. The Hindus, the Vedic texts always explain this, that we go through cycles, the yuga cycles. I've always believed that the planets and constellations and all this, it's some kind of a timepiece. That this is a construct, obviously, we find ourselves in. But we go through these cycles. And I almost wonder if that's just the rules of the game. Just like any game, you go till you beat the game. And then sometimes games have like extra worlds. Like, do you remember Zelda, the first Zelda on Nintendo? If you beat Zelda, then you could play like the alternate Zelda version where everything was really hard and everything was all mixed up. And, you didn't have cheat books anymore to figure everything out, because that was all based on the original version. And I remember I never did beat the second version because there were a couple dungeons I never found. I mean, I burned every tree in that game, it seemed, and still never found all the entrances and stuff. So that was a really, sorry folks for that nostalgia. I loved Zelda when I was a kid. That was the first real game that ever caught my imagination in a major way. But, yeah, I mean, geez. I really would have liked to talk more, folks. I feel like this was mostly just about Tartaria. I kind of went down some other roads, but I guess what I'm trying to get at here, folks, is that, look, we'll continue this talk because I didn't even get to talk about the Inca or any of these other things, but look up the orphan trains, look up Tartaria. Really interesting stuff. At the very least, folks, it's very interesting. The question is why? Why are they hiding it from us? Why did they not want us to know these things? Why are there these pictures of these cities, in the early 1800s that are just massive, beautiful buildings and there's like no people. And these are like these, I don't know, like ancient paintings. And then when they got the most rudimentary photo, technology, take pictures. Some of these have been remastered in these like old photos. It's weird. It shows these like cities that are just empty. It was like it used to have millions of people bustling around. Then there's just a few people walking around. Then you have the orphan trains with all these kids and no parents. I mean, what happened? Was there a world war that they're hiding from us? Was it a cataclysm? Was it this mud flood, some kind of worldwide cataclysm? I don't know, folks, but it makes you wonder. And I'm starting to really think that there is some kind of orbital object, whether it's like a giant comet or a planet or a moon that got out of orbit with another, planet, and now it's in some kind of a elliptical orbit into our solar system, or people talk about the X planet. I don't even know if you can even say that anymore. My God, who Zachariah Sitchin called Nibiru, which I'll contend that Nibiru is not found in any of the cuneiform tablets that I have found. Nibiru is the closest I've found, but that was a some kind of a site here on Earth. That wasn't a planet or something. So, like I said, those of you that attack me saying all you do is regurgitate Sitchin, man, I do my own theories, folks. My God, that's all I tell you guys to do. Just study this stuff and come up with your own theories. Nobody has a trademark on theories, right? You can use your brain. Look at all these ancient megaliths. Look at the lies we're put through. Look at all these religious texts, these ancient texts. Look at the cuneiform, read those, and then start making your own connections, folks. It is quite obvious that there was a high technologically advanced prior civilization that was wiped out. It called Atlantis, Lemuria, it doesn't matter. But is it possible that sometime here in the Middle Ages, into the, close to the Renaissance, or maybe even into the Renaissance, that there was this empire that was destroyed? Was it natural or was it war? We don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've really followed some people that just do some deep work, but they have trouble because some of them have had to dig up archives in Eastern Europe in libraries to try to find information on it. It's like they wiped it out of the history books. They wiped it out. It is like this massive empire that's never talked about that was bigger than Rome, folks. It was even bigger than the original Mongolian Empire, bigger than the Persian Empire. What is this? What was it? I don't know. I mean, there's some people out there saying, "Oh, well, that was Lucifer's, the Antichrist's empire, and we're already in the 1,000 years, the golden years," which is quite funny. I would not call this the golden years, folks. Perhaps in our near future, if we can right this ship and learn to stop following psychopaths and putting them in power, perhaps we could allude to that. But I don't know. I guess in a way that this mostly turned into talk about Tartaria, and I'm fine with that. I haven't really done a video on that. I didn't give you tons of info, folks, because there's not tons of info. There is some YouTube channels that they just dedicate to everything Tartaria, and it might be worth your time to go check out some of those channels. They're easy to look up in the search engine on YouTube. I'm sure there's some on Rumble too and some other places. If you hate, YT, which if you do, I don't know why you'd be listening to me here, because I'm here on YT, and and people have said that to me. Why do you go to YT? Why aren't you going to Rumble and these other ones? Well, folks, YT has the greatest setup for people to produce their own videos and such. They have the easiest tools, the best download systems. Rumble has been a nightmare, folks. I mean, I've tried multiple times. Rumble will not upload any of my videos. I don't know why. It's kind of like when everybody told me, go to Truth Social. Go to Truth Social. It's a free platform and real free speech. Folks, I stopped doing Truth Social. I've only got about 800 follows there, but I got tired of it because I do posts and one person would see a post. And then I got hit on a community standard thing on there one time over some BS that was nothing. It was literally a meme that Facebook even let me post. It never gave me trouble about. But True Social hit it as a harmful content, which was ridiculous. It was literally somebody with their mouth it said something to the likeness of this new century will be known as the century of censorship or something like that. And yeah, that's what True Social hit me for on there. Yeah, dude. Yeah, great platform there, folks. Woohoo. I spent time wasted on that. X, I gotta admit, X is very bad to me also. I've got almost 2,000 follows on X. I'll do a post and it'll reach maybe 20 people, 30 people. I get it. I'm not really the type that just goes in there talking politics and, battling with other morons on there, that following celebrities just so I can talk crap to them, or politicians. Hey man, I like going on there, and it's funny to watch a lot of that sometimes, but I actually like producing content, folks, and digging into stuff. I don't like just, arguing back and forth with people all day, and that's what essentially X is. And I get it. X has been great as far as letting some of this information out that these other platforms have been censoring. I do appreciate that. However, they tend to censor me. X does. I mean, I was never active on X when it was Twitter. I was even before Elon Musk took it over. But I mean, they, yeah, I'm on there, but I get no views at all. I get no traction. I've tried to build up. I don't know. What do you have, like 10, 20,000 people before you get 100 views on a post? I don't know. It's ridiculous. But, you know, everybody gives me crap about that. Why aren't you on those platforms? Why are you on Facebook and YouTube mostly? Well, folks, as much as I've had to deal with, especially Facebook with censorship and stuff, they at least let my content thrive. And YT has been decent to me too so far. They haven't given me any trouble. And folks, this is where most people are. It's the battleground of the mind. It's the battleground of viewpoints. It's the info war is right here on YT and FB. Okay? You may not like them, and yes, I've been censored, but folks, this is where you reach people. You go to True Social, it's an echo chamber. You go to X, it's just shit throwing. That's all it is. You know? Oh yeah, Telegram's another one. Everybody said, get on Telegram. Telegram's fantastic. Man, I started Telegram. I got a few people over there as followers, and all I was getting was scams constantly on there. Just that's all it was, man. And some of that was like very bad stuff. So no, Telegram's crap too. I'm sorry. I might hurt some feelings over that. Maybe I'm just not figuring out how to use Telegram properly. But all I needed was like a week of trying to spend some time on there to figure out it wasn't for me. So anyways, Facebook has let up off of me big time. I don't know what's going on. I figured censorship would tighten up with, what's coming up soon, even though I am not, you guys know me. I don't do a lot of like political stuff, but there's some things I've questioned that got me censored in the past. And so it is what it is. But anyways, guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think about Tartaria. I'm going to continue this talk on. It's Father's Day weekend here. I do work today, but I'm probably not going to post again until probably Monday or so. So I think we'll pick up again there because I really wanted to go into the Inca, Machu Picchu and all that kind of stuff, and the pyramids all around the world. I wanted to tie those in with what I was talking about with Tartaria and Egypt and such. But, went way too quick this morning. So anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you later.